Oh, what's going on, GameLeapers? Top lane eggs coming in hot, and in today's first of 2 uploads, can we get a like for the dedication? We are going to be revealing the 15 best top laners of patch 11.9. So if you want to know who the most broken champions are going to be when patch 11.9 drops, strap yourselves in for the next 10 or so minutes. Now, there are a few buffs and nerfs, guys, that are changing up the top lane landscape next patch, and I'm going to be detailing all of these and what they mean. And if you want even more detailing, then you've got to sign up to the GameLeap website. Why do you think thousands of summoners are already signed up? Is it to hear my voice a bit more? Well, maybe, but we also have the freshest and the best courses and guides going around that are guaranteed to improve your game on the Rift. So sign up. Links as always in the description and comment section. Alright, let's get into it, guys, and starting off the countdown is a champion who most of you are probably wondering, how can this guy be number 15? Well, Darius is strong, there's no doubt about it, but he's nowhere near as OP as people think, and he is going to be affected by an item nerf next patch, and an item buff in fact, because Dead Man's Plague, guys, one of your major items, is getting nerfed, so you're losing 100 HP, and it might not sound that impactful, but it is, because you're healing from your Q scales of health, and who doesn't want more green bars? So when that late game rolls around, you're easy to kill, and then we have the Death's Dance buff, which is granting more AD and armor, and this means that fighters, so think of Riven, Fiora, Camille, these guys are going to be harder to kill, and in turn, you're again going to be easier to kill. Yes, Darius is a strong laner, and his Stride Breaker spike is right up there, which is why he's still in our countdown, but he will be a little weaker next time around. Now, head of Darius is a champion who loses pretty hard, guys, to the Guillotine in the early laning phase, but Cho'gath scaling is what makes him so good. And the main reason Cho scaling is arguably the best on the Rift at the moment is because of Frostfire Gauntlet and its mythic passive. And this, guys, gives you 100 HP and 6% size for each legendary item you have, so you cover people's screens in the late game. So as you buy more major items, the tankier you become, and some of these items have received buffs this season. Whether it's the Gauntlet itself costing just 2800 gold now, or Frozen Heart costing less gold, or Gargoyle's Stone Plate giving more resistances, Force of Nature's movement speed passive increasing, it's all been positive. And in the laning phase, if you are struggling, just strap on a Bramble Vest and Balmy Cinder, and you are safe as houses. Now, I don't need to spend that long on this next pick, guys, because surely we all know how good Sion is. And the reasons this meathead is OP, well, they are the same as why Cho'gath is broken. Your scaling with the HP from Frostfire is insane, and your other major items are in a very good state indeed. All you need is a B-Vest to counter any AD champion trying to bully you in the lane, and you're sweet. Sion has also been picked a lot this season in the pro scene, guys, which won't stop, and if any of you have played against a tank like Cho'gath or Sion, you'll know how hard it is to bring these bad boys down. Now, another champion who's hard to bring down is actually getting nerfed in 11.9. Not to worry though, because Garen will still be serving up the Demacian justice. So yeah, it might be harder to stack your W's, armor, and magic resist, but that's it. You're still going to be hitting that true damage at the same click and stride breaking your opponents to death. So what's the big deal? Alright, the Dead Man's nerf does hit you as well in terms of your passive, your W shield, but offensively, guys, your damage is the same. And what is this meta largely about? Damage, that's right. So Garen once again on the best top laner's countdown. Now, this next top laner hasn't been on this list for a while, but he has returned because he's getting buffed, and he was already in a good spot prior to 11.9. Now, I know most of you were a bit upset at Shen getting buffed, and I probably would be too, but recently the Blue Ninja has come out of Riot's patches a bit worse off. For example, the Titanic nerf from 11.8 didn't help, and actually, yeah, that's about it. But next patch, guys, you Shen mains will be happier because your R's shield is scaling with your bonus HP. So whatever health you have from items and runes is getting pumped into that shield, and later in a game, this will be huge. Your carries won't die before your ult finishes channeling, and you can actually be a part of fights now. You also do extremely well into Cho'gath, who I just mentioned, and some of the best fighters going around like Wukong, Kled, and Garen. So if you guys see one of these, lock in Shen Dog. Now we're into the top 10, guys, and if you're enjoying our content, make sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. And yeah, starting off the top 10, we have a champion like Shen who is benefiting from a buff in 11.9. In fact, make that 2 buffs. And this is why Sett has punched his way back on this countdown, and I'm telling you guys this now. Ditch the Bork and buy a Stride Breaker, Steriscage, so as normal, and then a Titanic Hydra. Now, why is that? Well, with this W buff, as you can see, you're getting more damage the more bonus AD you have, and with the new Titanic, you're getting more AD than you would with Bork. Let me put it this way. At around the 3 item mark, your W is going to be dealing another 300 damage and close to 500 more damage after 4 to 5 items. And when I say that, maybe I should put Sett a little higher on this list. And then we also have to mention, guys, the AD ratio increase in your R, which is also coming in 11.9, and once again, the more AD you have from items, the harder you are going to be slamming enemy champions into the ground. With Dead Man's nerfed as well, it makes it even more reasonable to get Titanic instead, and this could actually make Sett Giga OP. Not to mention the Death's Dance and Wit's End are buffed, which are 2 viable items for the Haymaker. So Sett mains, thoughts on these buffs in the comments. Now, just ahead of Sett, guys, there's a fighter who has been loving life since getting a 2-second reduction on her E, and this of course is Riven. And next patch with Death's Dance buff, this puts your 3 item spike up there with the best of them. You see, even though Gore Drinker has been nerfed harder than Azir this season, the fact it still gives you ability haste as your mythic passive is all you need, because cooldown, guys, is the most important stat on Riven, while that and attack damage. And this is actually why the Death's Dance buff is most welcome, because it is giving you more AD, and the extra armor comes in handy too against all the Dariuses and Wukongs you're seeing, and every other AD champion for that matter. So practice auto-attacking in between your abilities, guys, and you will realize the full power of a level 9 Riven. Now, we've just had a couple of bruises. Well, it's time to bore you all to death with another tank, and this time it's Malphite, who has been one of the standout tanks this season. Apart from the fact his items are very strong, just like Cho'gath and Sion, he is super easy to play and always effective, especially in lower elos. His ultimate is the scariest ability on the Rift, and in-lane players typically aren't skilled enough to deal with his Q poke and strong trading potential with his W and E. So for another patch, guys, Malphite will be the ultimate autofill top lane champion. Now, it's going to be raining dogs next patch, and it has done all season, to be honest, because Nasus is once again going to be a standout top laner. You see, not much is affecting Susan next patch, guys. Yes, bruisers and fighters might be better off with the Death's Dance and Wit's End buff, but you can put a stop to them by just pressing W, and your synergy with Divine Sundra is all too powerful because of that hybrid damage. And as we all know, if your power spike with your mythic item is good this season, guys, your champion is going to be good as well. You've also got the rest of your major items like Frozen Heart and Gargoyle Stoneplate, which received buffs not long ago, and the change which really turned it around for Susan is still here in 11.9, and that's the Q cooldown buff which was sent out in the pre-season. So if you want to farm and chill for 20 minutes and then take over a game, no champion better at this than 11.9 Nasus. Now, the best 100% tank champion of 11.9, guys, and you're going to see this guy picked every game at MSI, I guarantee it, is Ornn, because as Ornn, you are just really hard to beat, just like the other tanks on this list. You have amazing scaling as it is because you're passive, but you are also a pain to play against in lane. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but if you slap a Bramble vest on an Ornn, yeah, good luck beating him. When you throw in a Balmy Cinder as well and the recently buffed Sunfire Aegis, there's not a whole lot you can do to stop the Mountain Breath from carrying. You have set up a surprising amount of damage and so much potential to carry with how good tank items are right now. Alright, we're into the top 5 top laners for 11.9, guys, and before we send it, it's one last friendly reminder to check out the GameLeap website if you want to get to Challenger. Helping you improve, guys, it's what we do. It is in our blood. And I do it daily because that's how often I post videos to the website, so for guaranteed success this season, get your fingers moving and click on the links down below. Now, kicking off the top 5, guys, is a champion who hasn't been in the top 5 for ages, but Kled is back mainly because of how well he synergizes with the recently buffed Sunfire Aegis, but also because of that Death's Dance buff. The extra AD and armor gives you more 1v1 power, which is what you want in that late game so you can win that split push, and your core build at the moment is already tearing up the Rift with a 56% win rate and high elo, and this comprises Sunfire Aegis, Steris Gauge, and a Gargoyle Stoneplate, and none of these big items are on the 11.9 shopping block, and neither is Kled. So if you want a champion who is broken and very hard to play against, guys, particularly in lower levels of play, it's hard to find a champion as good as Kled. Now, beating Kled to the number 4 spot is another bruiser who can make use of the improved Death's Dance, and this is Urgot. And importantly for you got mains, your real power, which is in your W's on hit, is staying in 11.9. Now, it's true, the Titanic Hydra nerf from 11.8 hurt, but it didn't hurt enough, and you still have one of the highest win rates across the board. The Cleave passive gets transferred into your Purge, and with Stridebreaker, you have all the stickiness you need and damage and kill potential. With Deadman's nerfed, your matchup with Darius, Sett, and Gnar will be easier, and there are very few champions who can compete with 11.9 Urgot. It's that simple. Now, one champion that can compete with the god is coming in at number 3, and this is Nocturne, who has proven to be one of the best top laners this season, guys, because of that Stridebreaker Steris Gauge combo. And next patch, you guys can add to this with the buff Death's Dance and Wit's End. And the Wit's buff is especially important because attack speed on Nocturne is critical, because your auto attacks lower your passive cooldown, so you can get more of these off in fights and you literally become unkillable. In lane, you can almost always get level 2 first because your Q's wave clear and your passive, so you always have pressure on your lane opponent, and if you do get ganked, you can just press W and E. And your fear is also great at setting up ganks as well, especially when you're level 6. Now, just ahead of Nocturne, guys, we have another bruiser who will be abusing that Death's Dance buff as much as anyone, but what separates Wukong from the rest is that he is innately strong AF. His passive gives him a stupid amount of tankiness in the laning phase, meaning that it's near impossible for him to lose trades. His W gives him a free dash, which can be used to attack or defend. His E gives him another dash and attack speed so he can stack Conqueror as quick as anyone, and he has 2 ultimates. How is that fair? Now, you might want to ban Shen next patch, that's true, but on the whole, guys, Wukong still boasts one of the highest top lane win rates, and this will improve, if anything, in 11.9. Now, if you watched our top 20 champions video yesterday for 11.9, you will know who beats Wukong to the number 1 spot, and if you didn't, well, shame on you. No, I'm just joking, but make sure you sub so it doesn't happen again. But yeah, the best champion of 11.9, guys, let alone top laner, is Camille. And it might seem weird because she doesn't have the highest win rate, but let me ask you, do you think getting hit for 1,000 damage from a basic ability is fair? I'll answer it, don't worry. It isn't. It's extremely unfair. And that is Camille's kit in a nutshell. Unfairness. Like, if you're a squishy and a Camille ults you know your time has come. Now, on top of that, with Death's Dance buff, she's going to be even harder to bring down, and by the time you do eventually kill her, she's already taken out your whole backline, and it's game over. The new rounded Trinity Force is also great on her because that gold is no longer wasted on too much attack speed, so for another Season 11 patch, Camille takes the cake. And if you have any thoughts on the champions in this list, guys, or not on this list, then fire away in the comments. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Like for the timestamps, and until tomorrow's video, this has been Coach.